Hi, this is Kathy Mills, and this is my presentation on Venetian Opera House and Salon Style Party. In Italy, Florence is considered the birthplace of the musical style we know today as opera. However, Venice is considered the place where it blossomed into its present-day form. In 1637, the very first opera house opened in Venice. The Teatro di San Cassiano hired the services of a touring theater company and soon opened its doors for business, charging admission to a musical performance for the first time. This change had a permanent and lasting impact as it brought opera into the public sphere and removed it from the realm of the exclusive patronage by only the wealthy and the noble. Court patronage was replaced with box office and ticket sales. By 1681, Venice had 12 opera houses, and there was a great deal of competition for both domestic and international audiences. The Venetian model of opera, with its virtuoso singers, lavish scenery, dramatic speech-style singing, new works each season, and tiered ticket sales to the general public, eventually spread to the rest of Italy and Europe. Interestingly, it predates any public concerts in London by 40 years. In the background, you can hear an example of Italian opera of this time. Composed in 1648, this is Francesco Cavalli's Il Giasson. Its dramatic feel and singing speech are characteristic of Venetian opera. I'll let you listen. And now I'd like to tell you a little bit about salon style parties. The salon tradition began in the 16th century as well, in Italy, but it traveled to France where it exploded in the 17th and 18th centuries and enduring into the 19th and 20th. Salon in French means big room, while salons were social gatherings of the aristocracy, the artistic and literary elite of the time. They were also the epicenter of a cultural shift from exclusive court society to a larger public sphere. Typically, composers would entertain in the homes of aristocrats or newly rich families to small audiences made up of prestigious members of the community and the business world. These salon performances were often held weekly and were the chief catalyst of the Romantic period of music. In many instances, these salon gatherings were the means for artists of the time to establish their careers, but it was also the source of patronage for established artists and a way for them to earn a very comfortable income without having to play for large audiences. A wonderful example of a salon composer, as well as the Enlightenment period and the Romantic period, was Frédéric Chopin. He disliked playing in large venues, and he preferred smaller, intimate gatherings. Given his immense talent, this was the perfect environment for Chopin to perform in. In the background, you can hear Impromptu No. 2. Composed in 1839, it's considered to be a prime example of the Romantic music period. You can feel it in its soft invitation to solitude and contemplation. Right now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the audiences of both Venetian opera and salon style party. A piece like Cavalli's Il Giasson would have been performed obviously in one of the Venetian or Italian opera houses of the time that were open to the public. Tickets had to be purchased to enter the venue and to see the performance. In contrast, an artist like Chopin would have been performing for an intimate salon gathering and this was by invitation only, and it consisted of important and wealthy people in the French and international society. In opera's earliest days in Venice, this would have been a very diverse audience. These operatic performances were public for the first time, and so they allowed a varying social status / income base to purchase tickets for a musical performance of this nature. Also, these musical works, Venetian opera, were very different, very new. Sung dramatic speech set to music was kind of like the Beatles coming to America for the first time. There was debate, criticism, skepticism amongst the musical community as well as current music goers. However, there were those that were able to pay to go hear a musical performance for the very first time in their lives because of the varying levels of tickets that you could buy. You know, there were the standing on the floor, and then there were, you know, the balconies and the boxes and the like. So it's not that different from your typical full-scale theater of today, except for that it was very, very new, and I'm sure it has evolved to some degree over time. But again, it was people who were seeing public performances of music for the very first time, as well as those that were well acquainted with classical music. So whatever skepticism, debate, or I don't know what to think about this there may have been, one thing is clear: Italian opera prevailed and flourished. In the case of salon parties and performances, these events were private, and the guest list was planned and consisted of successful and educated individuals of the current high society. They probably and likely wanted to be there, were often lovers of the music they went to hear, and they eagerly anticipated an evening of intellectual, political, and social discussion and hearing the best of the best musical talent in their presence. In the case of Venetian and Italian opera in its beginnings, again, we look to the variety of the audience. Some were educated and familiar with classical music, and for others it was their very first step into that world or a musical performance of any type. In the case of salon music, again, the artist or artists were specifically chosen to play for that gathering, and the audience most often knew the composer and its music, or they may have been hearing the most recent up-and-coming sensation and might have known little about that composer and their music. So for me, I would have loved to experience both. I'm an avid music lover, and I've seen both small-scale productions and large theater productions. And to me, this would be kind of like be the difference between going to see a full-scale production at the auditorium or the Chicago Theater, or seeing Sarah McLachlan or Elton John in a VIP performance at a swanky Gold Coast townhome. Both would be wonderful, but completely different experiences. So this is my report on Venetian Opera House and Salon Style Party. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.